Hi everybody! So with it being almost the end of the year and almost the start of a new year, I wanted to hop on here and show y'all my plans for choosing my TBR. I'm gonna do similar to what I did last year, which if you followed me over on TikTok, you know I made a really bad board game. And I have updated the really bad board game and we're gonna continue to use it. So for those of you who don't know, I made a TBRopoly, which is literally, I took an old Monopoly board and I painted all over it, and I kind of ruined it, because this was I think a collector's edition Supernatural Monopoly, and it is now not that, but I just redid the board game, and now I use it for this. I'll go through the board game itself and all of the squares first, and then I'll go through the cards and everything. So, I wanted to go through and show you everything on the game board. But in order for you to get the full scope of what's going on, I wanted to show you the original game board, which is this hand-painted, full of stickers monstrosity that is actually covering up what used to be, I believe, a Supernatural-themed game board. It's kind of a hot mess, and my handwriting's terrible, so I couldn't in good faith sit here and go through and have you guys read it. So I made a digital mock-up to copy it. So this is a very basic version of it, but all of the tags are the same. It's just a lot easier to read. And then, like I said, I use a little unicorn as my game piece. So we've got a little unicorn here, and we're going to go through and look at it. So the first square is obviously a go square, and I run this with a d20, so I just roll in circles. So if I land on go, I get to go to the store and buy a new book. And then jumping right into it. When I originally made this, there were themes for the different colors, and then I've redone it a few times and taken things out, added new things. So there's not really any themes anymore, it's just kind of a mess. But the first square is short stories, so either just a short story itself, or what most likely will happen will be I'll look for an anthology of short stories. Square 2 is a community shelf, which I will go through later. The other brown square is for manga and or graphic novels. I combine them. If I ever redo this, I might spread them out into two different categories. The next square is potato shelf. Potato is my husband. It's just a nickname I have for him, and he has his own bookshelf full of sci-fi and Star Wars and Brandon Sanderson, and I don't think I've ever read anything off of his shelf. So if I land here, I have to read something from his bookshelf, but I get to pick what it is. The railroads all got replaced with queer books, so they've all got little flags on them. And that's just a general, any book I want as long as it's queer. The first of the light blue sections is for children's books, so I'll probably still try to read like a longer book, but something that's marketed as towards children instead of middle grade. The next square after that is luck, which we will again go through later. And then we've got middle grade, followed by poetry. I don't know why I put poetry next to middle grade in with that section, but we did, so we're living with it. The next square is for jail. We actually have two options here. If I just land on it, I have roller skates on the original I can show you. There's just little roller skates on it, and that means you skate on by and you go to the next section, which is romance. But if I get sent to jail, I have to read a classic. We try to avoid jail at all costs. Now we do a rotate. And like I said, the first pink is a general romance. The next square is one of the utilities, and I have that set to be a librarian pick, so I'll go in and I'll ask a librarian to give me a recommendation, and we'll see what we get. This section got changed up quite a bit last time I redid it. It used to be a whole theme of all romancy stuff, and I was like, that's too much romance, we gotta fix this. So next up is an audiobook. Again, any audiobook. After that, we have Harlequins. I don't count my Harlequins in my TBR. I just have them stashed in a drawer for whenever I'm like, I really need something with no meaning to it. Because not to say Harlequin books don't have meaning, but the ones I buy are pretty much the same exact, like, tropes, plot lines, the whole shebang.
I know exactly what's gonna happen. I know what's the ending is gonna be. It works out great. I eat it up every time. And then we've got a queer railroad. And next, the orange section has a bit of a theme to it too. The first one is horror, and if we look at the original, I've got a giant Five Nights at Freddy's sticker on it. After that, we've got another community shelf, followed by a thriller, and then a mystery. The free parking space has become reader's choice, so again, it's another read whatever you want. And then jumping into the red, we started off with a reread of, again, literally anything. We've got a luck square, then we've got a nonfiction, and then we've got something from the failed TBR shelf, which as of right now, because it's not the new year yet, is completely empty. So if I get that in January, we're just gonna roll again. But I have never finished my entire TBR to date. So whenever I don't finish something, it goes on to the failed TBR shelf. And if we get to like November and there's a bunch of books there, we just do a failed TBR. So I thought adding a square on here would help keep that a little bit manageable. Then we've got another railroad, followed by YA fantasy specifically, and then fantasy. I was running out of ideas, but I do like fantasy in theory, so I thought I'd split it up into two genres. The next section is another utility, so that's a library display, which is honestly where I get most of my library books anyway, is from the displays. And then we've got a NetGalley arc, because I have so many of those, followed by Go to Jail, which means I have to go read a classic, which means I am suffering. We rotate it to the last side, and we start off strong with sci-fi, followed by YA sci-fi. We've got another community shelf, then we've got a comic book, followed by a queer railroad, a luck, and then we've got a contemporary for the dark blues, a potato picks, which I have yet to decide if that should mean potato picks from his shelf, or if it should mean potato picks from my shelf, or just he picks in general, but my husband picks the book. And then our very last section is a fancy book. I have all of my special editions and stuff tagged on Storycraft as fancy, so I'd probably just pull that up and pick a special edition and then actually make myself read a special edition, because I usually just put them on the shelf and then I'm like, I don't want to touch it, it looks so pretty. So that is that. So these are all of the squares on the game board, and in case you wanted to see it again, here is the chaotic entire game board. Next, I will go through the community shelf cards and the luck cards.
Thought you might like to see this little unicorn. I got in like a gotcha capsule, just like $1 at the dollar store, and I was like, well, gotta use it for something. So I use it for my board game, and this is my D20 that I use. It's just a generic D20, because I have a bunch of dice around, and I was like, I'll just steal one of these from my board game. And then we have two sets of different types of chance cards. We have what I call the luck cards, which are black with shiny Sharpie on them, which was like the worst choice I could have made, because do you know how hard this is to read? And then the other one is the community shelf, which are these green cards, they were originally meant to be more community centered, which is why it was the community shelf. It was stuff that friends recommend or my family picks out or stuff like that. Whereas the luck ones were just anything. But now I've gone through and updated them a few times, and it's kind of just whatever at this point. So first we'll go through the community shelf cards. Right off the bat, we've got read a light novel. We have read something seasonal, which is entirely up to choice, because what I call seasonal and what you call seasonal might be different. There's a bunch of them that have stuff with different things on cover. So we have a plant on the cover. Family picks, which for one of my TBRs last year, Soup was hanging out while I was recording it, and he actually pulled the book off the bookshelf, and one of my viewers was like, you should have let Soup pick that book. He tried his hardest, and they were right. So if he ever does that again, I will let Soup pick. This one is a dice roll romance. I have a bunch of Harlequins wrapped up in wrapping paper, and they're all numbered, so I'd roll a dice and see which one it is, and I just read a random Harlequin. Something with an animal on the cover, something with a weapon on the cover, something with people on the cover, a pretty cover, which is very subjective, something to match the month's letter, which would just be like, it's December right now, so I'd find something that starts with a D. Choose a top 10 This one I'm not sure how I would do, because the way I had planned to do it before was using a Goodreads list and taking the top 10 on there, because you can reorder them, and using those. But I don't use Goodreads for that anymore, so I don't really know how I'm going to do that. It might just be like I pick 10 of my most anticipated reads from the shelf underneath me, and then I have a friend pick or something. There's a bunch of color-themed ones in this too. There's a pink or purple cover, a black cover, a white cover. There's a free choice, a yellow and green cover, a red or orange cover, reread anything. There's a potato picks card, which again is just my husband picks something. A cover I dislike. This one's gonna be hard because I don't buy things that I don't like. So I don't know if we'd have something or if I'd have to like go to the library or something. Something with a building on the cover, a gray or brown cover. This one's going to be really helpful. It's continuous series I've already started. I don't have a lot of open series right now, I don't think, but I am being encouraged to start several series in the new year, so we'll see how that goes. The last three are a historical, just the genre, something I chose because of the cover, and a friend picks. And that is all of our community shelf cards. I thought I had more, but like I said, I did recently revamp this, and I think I took some out. Next up, we have our luck cards, which again are impossibly hard to read. But these are just a lot more randomized things. The first one is a release between 2000 and 2020. We have a 3-word title. This is what I call my get out of jail free card. It's I'm not reading that, and I can keep it until I need it. So if I draw this, I can just stash it for what I'll most likely use it for is if I roll into classic jail and I'm like, I don't want to read a classic this month, I'll just use this. But it could be for whatever. The newest book on my TBR, something released after 2020, a 1-word title, something released in the 1900s. Some of these are storygraph tag related, so something that's hopeful or inspiring, something that's dark or tense, something released in 2024. I should probably update that to 2025, but like, I have so many books from 2024, we'll keep it this way for a little bit. The longest title book I have, a FNAF book. These aren't on my TBR because I don't take them seriously. They're good, they're decent books, but they're not part of my actual reading. They're more part of I really like FNAF collection, but I have a bunch of the books over here, and I have the graphic novels, and I have most of the chapter books and stuff, so I just read one of those. Something tagged as slow pace, something greater than 500 pages, or something fast paced. A 3-star book, so that one I'd probably have to go to Goodreads for and find something close to a 3-star average. This is my go to jail card. It literally says on the bottom, classic time. I don't know why I do this to myself. I have yet to find a classic I enjoy, but we'll find out. Something less than 200 pages, something medium pace, something recommended by Storygraph, so I just refresh my homepage on Storygraph and see what pops up. Something emotional or sad. The oldest book on my TBR. This is another one that I used to use for Goodreads. It's a randomized TBR number. I'd probably just randomize a number and just go count it down off my bookshelf. And then the last one, I still don't really know what this means. I wrote this like 2 years ago, but I don't know if you can see that. It says alphabet soup. What does that mean? What I'm going to take it to mean is I'm just going to randomize a letter and find something with that letter. But I don't know what alphabet soup is supposed to mean, so if anyone has any hints as to what was going through Charlie's brain 2 years ago, please let me know. But that is all of my cards. So yeah, that is my TBRopoly. My monthly goals are to read 5 books a month, and I'm in 2 book clubs, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll 4 times and pick 4 books based off of what we land on, and then I'll also have my book clubs and anything seasonal or from the library that I'm looking forward to that month, because that should get us probably 6 or 7 books for the TBR, and I'm trying to be better about actually completing my TBRs. So I think rolling 4 times is a good start. Last year I rolled 5, but last year I was only building from the game. I wasn't in any book clubs. But now that I'm in book clubs, So, yeah, we'll roll it 4 times, and then I'll pick books based off of that, and then we'll add on to our TBR from there. Let me know if you guys have any suggestions for TBRopoly. I do have a bunch more blank cards, so I can add to Community Shelf and to Luck cards, so if you have any ideas for that, please let me know. And let me know how you pick your TBRs every month. I know a lot of people are mood readers, and I'm kind of a mood reader, but I still need some type of guidance, otherwise I'm just completely lost. But that is all I have for today. I hope you guys enjoy my terrible art, and I will see you next time. Bye.